Amazing. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. I'm delighted to be here with another of my wonderful clients who've been experiencing the Mace Energy Method. Gary, big welcome to the show.
I'm happy to be on your show, Helen.
So, Gary, you and I go a long, long way back into my HR and learning and development days, back when you hadn't ventured into that space.
Hmm.
20, was it as far back as 2015
I think
when
it
we
was
first met? Oh my
maybe even a
God.
year earlier, but we've definitely touched a
Gosh.
decade of knowing each other.
Incredible, incredible. So I was delighted when you popped back into my world and said you were curious about this Mace Energy Method stuff. And I'm so thankful that you're here to tell people about your experience, the before and the after, and anything else that you want to share with everybody. And remind me, Gary, I probably should have checked this, but how long ago is it now that you just completed your foundation sessions?
It was literally, I think it's only about 4 weeks ago. Yeah, quite
Wow.
recent.
So you're quite a newly hatched foundation grad, as I call them. Brilliant. So, Gary, start off by telling us what was going on for you that had you get curious about this as an approach, and what was going on in your life that you thought, I don't really like this. I want this to change.
Yeah, so I'll answer the question, but I'll probably frame it by saying I've always been curious about your work, right? Since we've known each other, we're friends, we go back a long way. But what's curious to me about the Mace method was how you were showing up and your excitement from a really grounded place of what this was bringing to the world. So that got me curious, first of all. So before I even sort of checked in with myself to say, why do I think this could be helpful for me? I was just like, Helen's showing up differently. And that got me curious. I was like, I wonder what's going on there. But as we had the conversations and you sort of invited me to just to consider it, you felt it's always helpful regardless of how much inner work you've done or
Mm.
how curious you might be. The thing that really got me fascinated, not just for me, but also for those in my personal life, was the way you were communicating. This was not like an invasive, having to regurgitate everything that's happened in your previous 20, 30, 40 years of your life, or the traumas. And that to me immediately just gave a resonance that was like, I'm not worried about going there, but the fact that that's put completely at the side just opened the curiosity for me straight away to go, there, I will get something out of this.
Mm.
And I think so that was sort of like the framing. And then very specifically, what I brought to our foundation session was a couple of niggles, one around a work colleague within my corporate job. Another one was, around just some of my own internal narratives around, I think the big one was around this perception of split personality, right? So I work within a corporate space. I also are building, radicality on the side, my sort of side hustle. And I was really feeling in my body and in my soul and in everything I felt like I was a Jekyll and Hyde, like going slightly insane person. I really did feel I was being pulled in two completely different directions. And I think that was probably the biggest, that was probably the single biggest thing for me was that I wonder if going through this Mace method with you holding that space for me, would it allow me to sort of integrate or maybe just see things differently?
Mm. Yeah. So I love that you came with that and that question and how that led from, yeah, like you say, the kind of curiosity about how I was into recognition of some stuff for you, which is
Mm.
very familiar to me as well. The kind of assuming that this is to help somebody else. There's maybe somebody else in this world that needs this thing, and then to realize, oh, maybe there's something for me as well. That's very cool. Um, so so tell me then broadly, and then we'll get into more detail as you want to. What's it like now on the other side of having had your foundation sessions? Which, for context, for anybody watching, if you've not seen, it's essentially 3 hours of sessions over 2 weeks. So a 2 hour session followed by a 1 hour a week later. And now, yeah, you're 4 weeks after that second session. So tell us what's it been like for you, and feel free to break it down as much or as little as you want.
It's been bizarre. And what I mean by bizarre, maybe not had that answer, it's incredibly freeing. And what I mean by that, before going through the process with you, I was already thinking, where does my job, like, what's my next job? I'm really frustrated with the day job. I need to do something different. So I was feeling this really angsty energy before around like, I don't know what's happening, what's going on, like what's my path look like, who am I becoming? Like, so I had all of that going on before. Now I'm just like, just literally. And I can sit here like that, just with a real lightness and groundedness and just acceptance. And I think that's a big word, right? I'm high growth. I want to try and make a difference in the world. But I realize now, post going through the Mace method with you, how much weight and energy, in particular, I was giving this version of who I thought I should be
Mm.
in these different domains. And now I'm just like, yeah, I'm Garry. I'm a husband. I'm a doggy dad. I care about certain things. I really believe in certain things. I want to see the world look very different to what it does today. But I now accept that's not all on me. And I didn't realize until I was going through some of the process with you just how much of my energy I was expending by imagining what I should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, 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 God, yeah. Which you can just tell, but as soon as you say that, you could imagine the kind of weight, if that looks true, the how I should be, what I should be doing, the difference I should be making. If all of that looks true, if yeah, of course that would feel heavy and difficult and like, yeah, that sense of it's all on me. So what really caught my attention there was um you kind of had that like the acceptance face, the like that place, which I know could be heard as or thought of as well, now I don't care. Whatever. Like who gives a, you know, is that what it's like?
It couldn't be further from that. So when yeah, just to qualify what I mean, like, it's a real acceptance and playfulness. And I think that's a really important part of this. I've struggled to find joy in the day to day, Helen, for a long time, for a very long time. I'm not unhappy, let's be clear. I'm not saying I'm not unhappy. I'm not saying I'm not grateful. I'm not saying I'm not very lucky to have what I've got and fame, but I've not found joy in my process of life for a very long time because I've been so wrapped up in what if, why is it like this, the world's blah, 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 right? And when I'm going like that now, I'm just like going, it's hilarious how much energy I was giving to these things I've got absolutely zero control of. And I want to qualify that as well. That lightness comes from a place of expansiveness and openness and possibility now
Mhm.
to try and enact and drive the change in the things I care most about, but without the weight of believing it's all on me. And
Mm.
without the patterns that I have, which I know I have, of saviorism, of going like, yeah, like martyrdom, oh yeah, I've got to do this. Like, particularly with me, I'm a white guy and I've got this privilege and like, I need to be in the trenches trying to change things. And I still believe that, but I don't believe it with the ferocity and the frustration and the irritation that I did before the Mace method. I now see it
Mm.
as, yeah, that needs to change. Things are really bad. Like that thing's really unjust. And what I can do about it from this space now is lighter, more playful, more intentional.
Mm.
Yeah, that's because I've got this capacity back to go after that stuff in a way that is much more valuable to me, to the world, to those that are around me. So yeah, a bit of a
Mm.
download, but it's true.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Because so what I'm hearing is the like what you care about, your passion, your drive, you've still got that desire to make a positive difference, to grow, to yeah, make a difference in the world. But who you're being in the doing of that is entirely different.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Energetic, and I think importantly, energetically, mentally, it's quite strange because mentally I didn't feel the weight didn't feel mental, Helen, before going through the Mace method.
Right.
It was very much almost like a whole embodied cloud that
Mm.
I couldn't fully see or experience, just sort
Mm.
of wrapped around me as I went on this. But that's just all dissipated. Like that cloak of weight is probably the best way I could describe it. The energetic weight of this almost like cloak I was walking around with has
Yeah.
just completely dissipated, which is where the capacities come from.
Yeah. 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 And would you say with that then, so two things that have caught my attention there, that cloak thing and the fact you were saying before, like I wasn't unhappy. So would you say with both of those there's almost this sense of like you almost didn't know what was available. You kind of didn't know perhaps how lack of joy there was, how cloaky that cloak was until it was gone. And then it's like, oh, there's another level of
Exactly. Yes,
freedom, of joy.
100%. And I'm having a reaction in my neck as you share that, as you reflect that back, because like for anyone watching, of course, yeah, woo woo, whatever, everyone use that stuff with stuff like this, right? but it's real. Like, let me bring it to life, right? And I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead in your sort of feedback session here.
No, go for it.
Since the Mace Method Foundation 4 weeks ago, I was holding a number of questions. And I'm going to tell everyone that's watching this what those questions were. One was, shall I make myself open to work on LinkedIn because I'm ready to look for another job? Maybe, maybe not. What would the main employer say? How would that show up? Story, 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 narrative. I was holding things around. Okay, yeah. Do I just drop the side hustle now? Do I need to focus on the corporate job? Just be grateful, Garry, for what the world's blowing up, all this stuff's happening. Just be happy and grateful with what you've got. Also, okay, no judgment on that. Like, not a bad decision. But I had all of these narratives running in the background of my system, of my experience of life. Since then, I've applied for a job. I got an interview. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my boss in my day job, and I'm pretty much reimagining what my role is after 16 years. None of that felt possible before we went through the Mace method.
Mm.
It's not that I haven't been thinking about this stuff. Important point. It's been
Mm.
in my experience. It's been in my awareness. It's not been unconscious to me, but the capacity energetically to move that stuff forward just wasn't there.
Mm.
Just wasn't
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
now I've literally within 4 weeks applied for the job for the first time in years. About 20 jobs actually. One's really strategic and thing. Had an interview, one of them. The funny thing, what, hey, go figure. As I was out with my boss reimagining my role yesterday, the other role, which I knew in my heart wasn't the right one, cancelled the interview.
Ah.
Oh, look at that. That's how the world works. So, so there's all of these things happening at the same time from a place of more joy, playfulness, less weight. But I just
Mm.
wanted to give some real crystal examples of what shifted in just 4 weeks.
Mm. Yeah, amazing, amazing. So I'm hearing the theme, which is very common for lots of people, of this obviousness. So whereas before, like you said, there's lots of thinking, there's the back and forth, the debate, the what's the right thing to do, what will happen if I go with that option, versus the obvious clarity of just moving, doing, taking action, knowing, taking the step, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this. So of course I'm going to do that. Oh, and this, yes. Oh, but not that. No. And does that capture that sense of
It does. Yeah, yeah, it really does. And I think it's also an interesting thing here is I'm very aware of where I'm in fear and when I'm not in fear. And this isn't even that, which is really fascinating to me. I've really not been afraid. I've been bold the last 5 years. I know I have been. I'm having conversation. I'm agitating within and outside of corporate spaces. I'm not a wallflower. And I had no idea how much of my spare capacity was being wasted on holding all of this negative energy.
Mm.
And I think that's what's been really fascinating. Like it really is an additive result. And that's what I mean about not being unhappy, being grateful. Like life's
Mm.
been good,
Mm.
but my God, it looks different now from a potentiality point of view.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love that, Gary. Do you know what? It reminds me of when I very first got in touch with the people at the Causalism Institute, and my very first question, given that most of the people who've accessed the Mace Energy Method before now have had serious mental health problems, or even just normal mental health problems. And my first question was, okay, I've seen all that, but can it just help a normal person go from good to great? Because at that
Mm.
point, I thought, I'm doing all right. Yeah, there are some things in my life that are frustrating me, but broadly, I'm doing good. Like miles from where I was 7, 10 years ago. So yeah, that was literally the question I asked because I know now in hindsight, there was a load of stuff that I could shed and get rid of and delete out of my system. Again, speaking to that thing of the potentiality that we don't even know is available because we've just got so used to swimming in this sea, we don't even know we're in water anymore. And then, yeah, like you say, the potentiality that becomes obvious as we clean this stuff out. It's like, oh my God, another level, another level. Oh my God, another level. Which
Mm.
that's what I love. It's that tip from I need to sort this problem out that's right here, right now, into I want, right? What do I want to create? What do I want to do more of? And through that journey, I've then found, and others found that that in itself then illuminates more stuff to clean up through the process. Amazing, because then we get to go to the next level, the next level. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and I'm having a reaction again, like all of my head, just so people know, is like just literally buzzing as you react. And I think if I may offer one further reflection at this juncture, because I think it's really important for people. we had a challenge, or I had not a challenge for you, but I had a challenge around the method, right? Before I actually came on with you, which was, is there a risk of spiritual bypassing? Is
Yeah,
there a risk that
yeah.
actually through this process, Helen, we're completely ignoring what's going on in the world and
Mm,
just making ourselves feel happy clappy at home? And that, again, no judgment, but for me, that's not why I would go through a process like this just to
yeah.
make myself feel good when I know what's going on. This has been one of the single biggest transformational things for me, and it has been transformational, is my feeling in my body and in my surroundings that I now have more capacity to look at that stuff and try and make a difference with it than I did before the Mace method.
Mm,
It is
mm.
not a bypassing process. And I know that firsthand now. And it's probably one of the most important things I could share today.
Yeah, yeah. It's such an important point. And it's interesting because a lot of people have that question. Is this going to be somehow bypassing my either my emotional experience or ignoring my childhood experiences, which were real, or yeah, like you say, ignoring the reality that we're living in right now. And yeah, absolutely. It doesn't bypass anything. It absolutely gets you in contact with the feelings of all these experiences in order that we can eliminate them, and eliminate the reactions to them and eliminate the resistances.
Mm,
And that, exactly like you're saying, then opens us up to being, well, back to your first, some of your first words, like acceptance, that presence with what is actually as it is. So that, and that is the place where we take the most effective action from. We don't take
mm,
effective action from reaction and resistance. We take effective action from presence and clarity with what is right now. So,
love that.
yeah, yeah, amazing, amazing. Yeah, it's called back to mind my last iteration of work. And Adyashanti, he has a book, The End of Your World, and he talks about how through awakening and enlightening, that's exactly what happens. It's like you can't turn away from the problems of the world anymore because it's right here. You can see it all so clearly, but with that greater capacity, you can actually do something really helpful about it rather than just grumbling about it, gossiping about it, shaking your fist at the TV about it. You can actually start to make a difference, even if it's just in your immediate world. It's all ripple effects.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels very true as well. Feels very true as you say that.
Yeah. So Gary, what else would you want people to know about this?
I think I'm going to say something which is a little bit off the cuff. I think it's incredibly reasonable in terms of the investment that people have to make to get. It is it is exponential the amount of impact you will have based on the investment. It's the sort of thing, honestly, Helen could charge £2,000, £3,000, £10,000 for, because that's the value that someone will get the other end. And that's probably a really important point is to say, don't look at the number as a reason not to do it,
Mm.
because the value you'll get will be multiple times the investment. And I mean that genuinely. The impact for me to be able to have cleared some of that energy and have the clarity I've now got is worth 10x what I actually paid you to go through the experience.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah.
Um, Something else I want to invite people to consider and just remember really is that as ethereal as this conversation may seem, if you've not gone through it, have a look at Helen's channel. There's a whole range of different people, different backgrounds, different contexts. I work within a multinational 5 billion turnover corporate, right? I've had this experience. You'll talk to someone else that's a school teacher who's had their version of this experience. The diversity of people that you've done this work with just shows the piercing value of the Mace method for the world
Mm.
because it works regardless of context, regardless of what you look or sound like. There's an equality in its impact. And that's something I want people to understand, which I
Mm.
wouldn't have seen without going through it.
Mm. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's so true. It's one of the reasons I love it as a process, that equality aspect, and because it requires no prerequisites as in terms of your background, in terms of your education, in terms of your level of personal or spiritual development. It's like everything I've done before has kind of had some kind of pre-qualifier. Oh, well, you have to have learned this or done this or tick this box. Whereas this is like, and I'd created a flow chart at one point actually. Are you a person? Good. Do you have a problem? Good. Do you want it to change? Good. You can come and engage in this process. So yes, it makes it such an equalizer, so accessible to everybody. And yes, you're right, it's way underpriced for the value you get. It's yeah, it is a phenomenal creation. And really, yeah, for me the reason it's so powerful is because John Mace, who first developed it, in fact, he talks about discovered it. He's like, I didn't create this. This is already how we work. This is already like a natural, we use drawing on the natural laws of us and how things happen. It's a process he talks about discovering, uncovering, but it is absolutely grounded in truth. It's absolutely soaked with integrity, and
Mm.
I love it for that because you can't bullshit it as a client. I can't bullshit it as a practitioner. It's so yeah, it's so full of integrity, so thorough, which I also love with my high standards. I want people to feel amazing.
It works.
Get this crap out of there. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Garry. Thank you. Any last thoughts, comments? Do you feel you've shared everything you want to share?
No, just yeah, just gratitude to you because, like I say, I've watched you grow and shift your focus area over the years, over the last decade. And like I say, I've never seen you so grounded and clear in the impact you're having, in who you're becoming. So I just want to say
Mm.
I really appreciate witnessing those shifts over the years, and just yeah, just an open invitation to anyone. Don't, I guess the last thing I would actually share, because I think this might be helpful, and this is how I see it for me going forward. And I know the gym metaphor is used a lot, but I think it's really apt for this Mace method, which is, if you're feeling weak, as in bodily weak, or you're feeling under pressure or stressed, or life just feels harder than it should be. Sometimes we go to the gym, right, just to crash it out, go for a run or something, get into nature. I would invite people to see the Mace method as another tool in your toolbox of getting yourself back to center.
Mm. Mm.
But I would say this is, yeah, it's complementary. It's a complementary route as part of your well-being toolbox. And I'd invite people to make sure they've got this as part of that toolbox.
Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I might just build on that because, and this is my perspective, which is a slight nuance in that I've seen all of that stuff you've just said and normal coaching, normal development stuff becoming way more impactful and effective in the absence of all the stuff that was
Yes, yeah, yeah.
essentially dragging it back before. It's like, if somebody says, yes, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to start a new routine. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, oh no, I've slipped back into my old habits again. Whereas for me, once we've cleaned this stuff out of the way, it's like any change we want to make, any shift we want to make, identity wise, behavior wise, performance wise, learning wise, it's like the cleaner we are, the more we're
So
back.
good. Okay, last thing I'm leaving you with.
Okay.
I hadn't rejoined the gym, and I've been telling myself for a long time to rejoin the gym. In the last 3 weeks, I'm now going 2 to 3 times a week.
Brilliant.
So I'm not just using a gym metaphor to let people understand my version of what I mean, but just to reinforce your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, and I think it's a fair qualifier. Although, yeah, it's part of your toolbox, but fundamentally, this process allows you to accelerate and amplify those other parts of your toolbox in a way that those other ones on their own won't necessarily do. So yeah, I guess there's a catalytic element to the Mace method, to be fair, if I think about it being part of that toolbox.
Yeah, nice word, catalytic. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Thank you so much, Garry. Really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time coming and sharing with us all today and that brand new realization with the gym. This is all these
That's literally in the moment. Literally in the moment. I've not even thought about that.
well, I love that when I have conversations with people. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, not that much has changed. And then we like 2 minutes in, they're like, oh, but yeah, this has happened and that's happened and this is different. And it doesn't take very long to see actually how much has changed so quickly. So yeah, it's fabulous. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I look forward to
Thank
more
you.
sessions with you as and when.
They will happen for
Yeah.
sure. Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Lots of love. Take care.